Very depressed about it. I mean, we'd been well primed to expect that, so it didn't come as a shock, but it was still incredibly disappointing. It seems to me that we've done every single thing that's been expected of us. We stayed at home, we protected the NHS, we've worn masks, we've washed our hands until they're red raw, we've queued up, we've been vaccinated, and yet still the government has refused to lift this last round of restrictions on our lives. I mean, it's not just devastating for businesses, but for people who want to just get on with their lives now and be able to put this past 18 months behind us. And it just seems to me like if we don't open up now, what is really going to be different in 4 weeks' time? I mean, two news things that have come out today. Apparently 1% of hospital patients now are people who have COVID, just 1%. And we've had more good news today about just exactly how effective the vaccine is against this Delta variant. So given that, and given that we do have a rise in cases, but there are people who are young, who are very unlikely to get seriously ill. So I'm just left questioning what exactly will be different in 4 weeks' time. If we can't open up now, what's to say another new variant won't come along? And we could still be in this position in 1 year, 2 years' time if we're going to jump at every variant. The thing I don't understand is Chris Whitty went to great lengths yesterday to reiterate yet again that we do need to learn to live with this virus, just as we would a seasonal flu. Well, please, I agree with that. Let us get on with it. Let us learn to live with it. I don't understand why they're saying with one hand we have to learn to live with it, but then also saying we must keep these restrictions in place.
Indeed. Well, time will tell whether or not that date gets stuck to. Now, let me move on to another story. Shamima Begum is probably a name that many of you will by now be familiar with. Of course, she was a schoolgirl in 2015 when she went over to Syria. There's been a lot of talk in the press at the moment. There she is. She is taking part at the moment in a documentary film. So she's been interviewed by the filmmaker, and there's a lot of talk. She basically is 21 now. She wants to come back to the UK. She describes herself as just a dumb kid who made one mistake. She doesn't see herself as a terrorist. She also says she doesn't think she needs to be rehabilitated, but she wants to help other people to be rehabilitated. She was asked if she had a message to the UK government, and she said, "Can I come home, please? Pretty please." Of course, in February, she lost a Supreme Court appeal to return to the UK after, of course, she had her citizenship revoked. What do you make of this?
Well, I'm very conflicted, in part because I think she's a problem that we've created in our society, and why she should then be dumped in Syria and left for Syrians to have to deal with baffles me. But on the other hand, I feel very, very little sympathy towards her. We have to remember that for all she's trying to tug on our heartstrings now with a kind of pretty please as an innocent girl is what she's trying to present herself as. She was somebody who was, in her own words, unfazed at the sight of severed heads. She was somebody who went abroad to commit violent jihad, wage a war against everything the West stands for. And I think it's very difficult for us to then just welcome her back with open arms, or even to welcome her back to put her in prison. My concern is that the way she's presenting herself in these documentaries, dressing in a very Western way, appealing to our sympathies, there seems to be a certain section of the left, for some reason, who are almost seeing Shamima Begum now as almost like a martyr type figure. She's become a kind of cause celeb, and she's playing into that as if she's somehow a figure that we should be rallying behind as a sign of how sympathetic we can be as a nation. And I think that's a really dangerous line to go down. And you know, to be holding up this girl almost as a role model is utterly bizarre.
Well, you say that she pulls on heartstrings. She doesn't pull on my heartstrings. You know, she says she made one mistake, a teenage mistake. Teenagers making mistakes, you know, they might vandalise a bench. You know, those kind of things, teenage mistake. Joining a cult, whatever you want to call them, watching people beheading people, you know, that is not a mistake. That is a mindset, an intentional mindset. And can that be changed?
I think
who knows? But I'm really interested. I know my viewers will have a view on that. So please do let me know what you think. She's asking the government, please, pretty please, can she come back to the UK? Do you think she should be able to? I want to hear your view. Jubes at gbnews.uk or Twitter at Michelle Jubes. Now, coming up, I will be having, this will be a regular weekly segment. We are calling it The Real Economy, and in it, I will be talking to British business success stories. And tonight, we have a great...
Very little say in this whatsoever. She'll make her own mind up. But if she was any younger than that, and if I did have a say, then I would not get my daughter vaccinated, because I really agree.
Vaccinated per se?
Oh no, just to
vaccine.
stress, I've got 3 children. They've all had every single vaccine up to this point. They've had MMR, the MMR vaccine. They've had all the other vaccines that they should have as babies. It's purely this vaccine for COVID that I have an objection to, which is because the illness itself poses such an incredibly little risk to children. And I think asking children to be vaccinated is a political decision rather than a medical decision.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't see any health benefits in vaccinating children against coronavirus. Like I said, most of them will have it and not even know that they've got it. It's that mild in children. And then various studies from around the world have shown that actually the transmission that goes on in schools reflects what's going on in the community. It doesn't trigger community transmission.
Okay. Now, joining me, I hope we have joining me now, we have Claire Bryant. Are you there, Claire? Perfect. Now, Claire, you are yourself a professor, and I'm not sure whether or not you were able to hear that conversation there. Just tell me a little bit about you, your background, and what your view is when it comes to the debate around should we be giving our children these vaccines, the COVID vaccine specifically.
Yeah, so I'm a professor of innate immunity at Cambridge, so I work on vaccines and the immune response to pathogens like viruses and bacteria. I actually work on a project looking at severe...
It's an act of love, you know, not just from me as a mother, but I think when other people, it's a way for them to show that they love you and that they love your baby, that they buy a present and they buy a toy. I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is a lot of them are sold to us like, you know, as you were saying earlier, as a mother, you're desperate to do the right thing. And so many of these toys come with like big stickers saying, you know, this will help your child's hand-eye coordination. This will help your child learn letters and numbers, and you'll create a baby genius if you just buy all of these products. And I think you're that insecure at first that you do buy all of these different products because you think it's going to be the magic solution to creating the perfect baby.
See, I've not fallen into that mindset at all. Like my baby's first Christmas, and people were saying, oh, what are you going to get your baby for Christmas? I said, nothing. It's a baby. He doesn't know it's Christmas. I didn't buy him a single thing. And it's his first birthday soon. And people are saying to me again, what are you going to buy him? My answer is absolutely nothing, honestly. Maybe it's just because I'm a bit of a tight northerner, I don't know. But joining me now as well to have a quick chat about this, we've got the woman's coach and mummy influencer, Charlotte Johnsey. Charlotte, are you there?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi.
So, let me ask you, you know about all things baby and children. Do you think kids need a lot of toys?
I don't think they need a lot of toys, but I do think they need toys because they need colours, they need shapes, they need texture, and why not make them colourful? Like they can play with things around the house, but they're also safer as well.
Well, when you mention colour, that's funny because one of my projects, Charlotte, that I need to get around to doing is indeed, you mentioned texture and colour. What I intend to do, as soon as I've got 5 minutes, I'm going to get some freezer bags, some tap water and a couple of drops of food colouring, and I'm going to sellotape them to a wall so that my kid can touch them. He's going to see colour, feel texture. And what's wrong with that? Why does he need to have an expensive, colourful, textured thing to do that?
Do you know that that's going to be the most safest option?
What? My bags of food-coloured water?
Yeah.
Are you there? Yeah, perfectly safe. He's just going to be delicately touching these things, feeling them, the water moving, perfectly safe. And it'll cost me about 2p, I should imagine.
I do agree that actually the kids' toys are really expensive. Like you can pay like £10, £15 for just like a really small toy. But I actually think with kind of like the upselling and charity shops, like you can buy really good toys now just by going into the charity shop and paying like £1.50 for what you would have paid for £15.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, yeah, I found it quite interesting. There's these services where you can hire some toys. So you can actually subscribe to something and then they will recycle some toys. So at some point I may well consider that, but not yet. He can make do with sandwich boxes, empty bottles and carrier bags. But do you think that development-wise, we talk about development, you know, can you just be developing your child effectively with, say, random household items that I'm suggesting?
To some degree, yes. Like I've got an 8-month-old and he will sit there for, 30 minutes to an hour and just play happily with himself. It develops like their kind of like their cognitive skills, their social skills, like they are learning how to touch and feel, and I don't think you quite get that same thing with just, say, a TV remote.
Oh, well, I tell you, it's funny you should
Or a
say
mobile
TV
phone.
remotes. It's funny you should say TV remotes. Don't get me started on that, because that is one of my kids' most favourite things, annoyingly. He adores my television remotes. Anyway, Charlotte, thank you very much for your time. And I want to hear your views. Do you have a child, or children plural? Do you buy them lots of stuff? Get in touch and tell me. You can tweet me at Michelle Jubes.
I think it's very interesting. It brought back some happy memories of time when my kids were that age, and the best toy, well, for them, if not for me, was an upside-down saucepan and a wooden spoon. I mean, hours of very, very noisy fun. But I just think in general, do you know what? As a mother, I used to get sick of being bombarded with advice from every single different direction. I mean, not only buy this toy and you'll have a perfect baby, but don't buy this toy, as if scientists have worked out some study that the perfect number of toys is like 6 or something, and if you have more than 6 or fewer than 6, then you're going to do irreparable damage to your baby. I just kind of think we all need to lighten up a little bit and let mothers off the hook, and there's no recipe for creating a perfect baby. We just have to have a bit of fun and enjoy spending time with them and enjoy playing with them.
Okay, and as I said, I want to know what you think. Let me know. Moving on, after being locked down for so long, so many of us now are just loving being outside, especially with this sun. Everywhere's around now, isn't it? Parks, beaches, and all the local beauty spots, of course. And they are chocker with people, but also chocker with litter. So look, this is littering. We've seen as well a huge surge apparently in fly tipping. Of course, people have been doing house renovation and DIY in lockdown, and have got lots of stuff now. They don't know what to do with it, so they think to themselves, I know what I'll do. I'll just dump it, basically, on a street corner. I can't bear it. I cannot bear littering. And you see so many images now. And I was reading today about an app, and we're going to be talking to the founder in just a moment. There is an app that now allows you to track, basically, in live real time, where the fly tipping is taking place. So joining me now, are you there? Can you hear me? Martin Montague.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, hello, Martin. I can't comprehend why somebody would do it.
I've got to confess, confess, much to the embarrassment of my family, I've been known to go up to children in the street who I've seen dropping litter and tap them on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, you've dropped that, pick it up."
And what do they
take
say?
it home with you. Do you know what? Every single time they look embarrassed, they pick it up and they take it home with them. I think more people need to do that, and more people need to be like Martin, who we saw there. And I think you need to be a bit proactive and actually drum into people that this is not the right way to behave. It is disgusting. In Kent, where I live, it's a real problem, particularly on the roadsides where you've got lorry drivers pulling up and just throwing things out of the windows. But, you know, I think we need to all play a part in telling people to take their litter home with them and not littering ourselves. But there is a role for the council. I mean, you often see bins, particularly by the side of the roads at this time of year, by parks and in the beaches, that are absolutely overflowing, and people who are clearly trying to do the right thing, and then they end up piling their litter up around the bin or kind of in the vicinity of the bin. And the councils need to be a bit more proactive, perhaps employ a few more people or pay them a bit more and get the rubbish removed so the bins are empty for people to use.
Yeah, well, I mentioned earlier the trade union Unison, they've come out actually and said that so many of these council workers are really struggling with the additional pressure in terms of having to clean up, because, you know, it's beaches, it's parks, it's absolutely everywhere. And I think it was in York, actually, they did a great campaign, like a poster campaign during, I think it was one of the first lockdowns, and they was basically saying, when it comes to litter, don't be a tosser, don't just toss your litter away, put it into the bin. And I wholeheartedly agree. Got lots of reaction to you on this, on the socials and on my email. Russ Nicol says, yeah, just watching the fly tipping piece. Our local authorities are significantly to blame here, as many local tips will not take the waste. Did you just mention, by the way, that your tip has big queues or something?
Well, it does have, as it happens, yeah. And also, similar to Martin, we're expected to book in advance. And sometimes that's not a matter of days, but you are actually expected to book a couple of weeks in advance, which is kind of all right if you've got a big garden or somewhere where you can store your waste in the meantime. But it does get very difficult if you don't have those facilities and you're not able to go within a couple of days.
Well, Ian Lodge has got in touch saying, Michelle, you could just let your kid play with the fly tip rubbish. Yeah, good tip there, Ian. Michelle has been in touch saying, I'm a nursery nurse, and what you're doing with your child, Michelle, is great. You could even make your own Play-Doh using flour, a bit of salt, a bit of oil, and a bit of water and food colouring. John Barrelston's been in touch. I haven't bought my child a gift since his 6th birthday, and he's top of his class, gifted and talented, and apparently is bright as a spark. Someone saying, I feel sorry for Michelle's kid. All of her kids' friends will have nice toys while she forces freezer bags of coloured water onto him. Oh, not that bad. What can I say? I am not that bad. People still getting in touch about Shamima Begum. Everyone's saying they don't think that she should be welcome back in the UK. And I really want to hear from you if you are watching this and you believe in, you know, the rehabilitation of the mindset. Are you sitting at home saying, you know, she should be allowed to come back to the UK and she might have changed her ways? And surely somebody out there must think that. And if you do, I want to hear from you. Let's see. Yeah, I'm desperately trying to find somebody who thinks that, and I can't find anybody. Mike Hunt has got in touch about toys. I don't think kids need expensive toys. My children have the opportunity to just go outside after school and play outdoors. Vaccines, I mean, I've got 3 brothers and all the rest of it. And, you know, they talk, but I'm not sure that they actually talk deeply about their feelings to each other. I think it's getting better now, but I think for a very long time they haven't done that.
Well, I think that might be true, but I think there's also, concerns me a little bit how we're very quick, it seems, to denigrate so-called masculine values nowadays. And I think actually being a bit stoical or being a bit strong and actually being able to not kind of be emotional at the drop of a hat. I think there's actually there's something not bad about that, and I think we run a risk of kind of saying that those are bad values and that there's a problem if you're going to be stoical and strong and resilient. And I think we need to get the balance right and actually allow people to talk about their feelings if they need to, but at the same time not say that being a man is bad in and of itself.
No, I'm getting so much stick. I wish I hadn't bothered. My partner will be going mad at me because I wish I'd never bothered mentioning my great idea about my freezer bags, because people are still going on about it, saying that on Christmas Day, people will be saying, oh, you know, what did you get from Santa? They'll be like, oh, I got the latest Xbox. What did you get? Oh, I got a whole roll of freezer bags. Leave me alone. And by the way, I love the way you think that my kid would get a whole roll of freezer bags. And I'm not talking about rolls here. He'd be getting about 3 or 4. What do you think it is? A whole roll. Anyway, let's move on from my child and his toys. Now, a consumer group says that travel insurance policies offering complete cover for COVID-related disruption are barely available. This is something I want to talk to companies about and find out and get to the bottom of this. Can you get efficient and effective travel insurance for COVID? I will be talking to the founder of Stay Show after the break. Don't go away. Brother-in-law Andy very sadly took his own life. Originating in Halifax, the club now has spread across the country. There are over 50 clubs meeting every Monday night. In the last few weeks, they received the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service, and I am delighted to be joined by Gareth, the club's lead organiser from Hull. Gareth, welcome.
The person who's messaged in there, absolutely tragic, and how you begin to rebuild your life when somebody in your close family has been through, when you've been through something like that, it's just unimaginable, and any life that can be saved by creating support systems for people to be able to get help and talk about problems that they're experiencing have got to be welcomed.
Yeah, and, you know, I reiterate, and I don't apologise for repeating myself, because it's such